Hello, welcome to Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Rochelle Harrison-Pless. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, the Football World Cup campaigns of Morocco and Egypt get off to a wobbly start after both teams went down at the last minute, losing 1-0 each to Iran and Uruguay. Fasting for the holy month of Ramadan has ended for millions of Muslims around the world, but for those fighting to survive after fleeing Boko Haram, the feasting and celebration of Eid is not always an option. Plus, a story for those with a sweet tooth. We look at how Muslims in Algeria are celebrating the end of the month-long fast by tucking into a very special sweet treat. Good to have you with us. The first African teams hit the pitch for day 2 of the Football World Cup in Russia. But both Morocco and Egypt had a very shaky start to the tournament. Iran snatched a late 1-0 victory over the Moroccans thanks to an own goal in the game's dying minutes of injury time. Egypt fans are also bitterly disappointed this Friday after a dramatic last-gasp 1-0 win for Uruguay. Well, let's get some reaction from football fans in Morocco.
Hugely disappointed. I can't believe it. The 95th minute and we score an own goal. It hurts because the Moroccans played a better match.
Today we play very good. The first half, second half, we try so hard, but it was very bad luck that Iran scored out a goal, and I feel like we are out from the World Cup. It's very hard, but the most important that we are in Russia, we come in Russia and we try, and football it's like this, so today we had bad luck.
For more on the day's action, I spoke to our sports editor Ketavan Gorjestani.
Disappointment for the fans of Egypt and Morocco, and both times it was with a late goal, so disappointment at the very end of the game. Both games were headed for a goalless draw before Morocco and Egypt both conceded late goals. Egypt beaten by Uruguay on an 89th minute goal by Jimenez, despite Egypt showing some pretty good football during this game. The loss was even more painful for the Moroccans who dominated Iran throughout the 90 minutes of regular time before Aziz Bouahoudous finally scored an own goal. It was a beautiful goal. It just was in the wrong goal, handing Iran that victory in the last seconds of stoppage time. Now, Egypt still look like they could be making it out of these group stages because they pretty much played against the toughest team in that Group A. For Morocco, it's going to be much more complicated because they were starting off with the weakest team, with Iran. Next up for them will be Portugal and Spain, and when you see what happened in that game between Portugal and Spain, you know that for Morocco it's going to be very complicated. And we heard one of those fans saying that it feels like we're already out of the World Cup, and it surely seems like it's going to be a very tough task for Morocco to make it out of this group.
Indeed. We've been watching that Spain-Portugal game here, and very exciting stuff indeed. Now, tomorrow there's just one African team in action, and that's Nigeria, who'll face off against Croatia for their first pool match.
Yes, and Nigeria not handed an easy task because in that group, pretty much the group of death in this World Cup 2018. They'll be facing Croatia, which is in its own tough group, but it will be a very important match for both Croatia and Nigeria because the other teams in that group are Argentina, the favorites to win this group, while Iceland are really the underdogs. So whoever wins between Croatia and Nigeria will likely be making it out of the group alongside Argentina, and it's going to be very tough for the Super Eagles against a team that has plenty of experience, plenty of big names. You've got Ivan Rakitic, Mario Mandzukic, so Luka Modric. So it's going to be very hard, especially since Nigeria are very inexperienced compared to the Croatians. They're actually the youngest squad in this World Cup 2018, and they've only won one of their past 12 World Cup games. So we'll see if they can pull out a big game tomorrow to beat Croatia.
France 24's Ketavan Gorjestani reporting from Moscow for us. Well, just days after Morocco lost its bid to host the 2026 World Cup, King Mohammed VI has instructed his country to bid for the 2030 tournament. It will be Morocco's sixth attempt to host the event. Earlier this week, its 2026 dreams were shattered after losing to a joint bid from the US, Canada and Mexico. To other news now, a whopping 23 presidential candidates have been given the green light to run in Zimbabwe's elections set to take place at the end of July. According to the country's electoral commission, that's a record number. Now, among those in the running are the incumbent, Emerson Mnangagwa, plus opposition leader Nelson Chamisa from the Movement for Democratic Change. The vote will be the first ballot since longtime leader Robert Mugabe was ousted after a brief military takeover in November last year. Now, the sacred Islamic month of Ramadan has drawn to a close, with millions of Muslims around the world now celebrating Eid. But for those in far north Cameroon, where people have fled the Boko Haram insurgency, breaking the fast can be a hardship in itself. They may have escaped the clutches of Boko Haram, but for the residents of Kolofata on the Nigerian border, celebrating and feasting are luxuries they just can't afford. Our team on the ground sent us this report.
As Muslims turn a page on the holy month of Ramadan, Solomon is supervising the distribution of basic necessities in the far north region of Cameroon. Here, there are some 500 makeshift homes and close to 4,000 people. All refugees in the town of Kolofata, which has been at the heart of the battle against local jihadists. The food distribution exercise is spearheaded by the Red Cross.
These bags contain different types of food to enable people to have something to eat for Ramadan. Each family will have at least one meal.
Since they took shelter in this camp, food and aid deliveries to the refugees have been sporadic. 80-year-old Lawal fled from his village to Kolofata 3 years ago. Married to 4 different women, Lawal is the head of a polygamous family which counts about 50 children. So it is always very difficult for him to provide enough food for the family during the Ramadan period. He says the aid package will not go very far.
We really appreciate the help from the Red Cross, but I must say it's insufficient for my large family. The package I receive can't sustain us more than 2 weeks.
Breaking the daily fast is not easy for those living in the makeshift camp. As the sun sets, people worry about not having enough to go round. All they have is millet, which is a staple food here.
We'll make do with what we have for Ramadan. God will take care of the rest.
But the battle for food is not the only one they have on their hands. More than 300,000 refugees have fled attacks by Boko Haram in the far north region of Cameroon. According to the United Nations, about 5 million people are now suffering from food insecurity around Lake Chad, and about 500,000 children are in urgent need of assistance.
Meanwhile, in Algeria, breaking the Ramadan fast often means chowing down on zlabia, a famous dessert from the town of Boufarik, some 30 kilometres from the capital. Well, for many Algerians, Ramadan just isn't Ramadan without the popular sweet treat. Laurent Berstecker has more.
Each year during the holy month, the streets of Boufarik are crawling with hungry passerbys. The small town, 50 kilometers away from Algiers, claims to make the best zlabia in the world, a local honey-based delicacy that's become a staple for celebrating the end of Ramadan.
Ramadan without zlabia from Boufarik isn't Ramadan, it's true. People come from all over to buy our zlabia. They love it. Even if it's sold elsewhere, people keep coming back to Bufarik.
Here, everyone agrees. Only in Bufarik can you find real, authentic zlabia. The sweet orange treat is sold all year long, but is in particularly high demand during Eid, which marks the end of Ramadan. Some even make the hour-long drive from the capital just to get a taste.
I come here to eat zlabia and have a good time. There isn't any good zlabia anywhere else. You can find small ones and round ones, even Tunisian zlabia. But the best one is in Bufarik.
A delicious but well-kept secret. Bufarik's zlabia recipe has been passed down from mother to daughter for generations.
It's making me very hungry indeed. And finally, Muslims in Nigeria are also marking Eid, with worshippers gathering across the country this Friday to say a special end of Ramadan prayer. In the capital, Abuja, President Muhammadu Buhari was among the faithful. Earlier, he congratulated Nigerian Muslims on completing the one-month fasting period and called on them to embrace peace and forgiveness. We'll leave you with these images. Stay with us here on France 24. Lots more news coming up.